This is an emergency update for a storm possibly bringing 100-mile-an-hour winds to the Dakotas and all the way back into the Twin Cities area in Minnesota today, Monday, July 28th. Now, it looks like this storm is going to get its start in eastern Montana along the very early morning hours today with the help of some troughing, a cold front, and a low pressure system. Now, in this stage in eastern Montana, it would likely only be bringing that threat of some large hail, possibly already 2 inches in diameter, and some damaging gusts around 60 to 70 miles an hour. Now, as we push into the Dakotas by around midday, these storms could possibly be bringing some 3-inch in diameter hail, although it would be closer to 2 inches, and some damaging gusts anywhere between 60 to 70 miles an hour. Now, after midday, that is when these storms are going to kick into high gear, as this air mass in front of them has had a very long time to destabilize and build up those storm ingredients. Now, in this period, this is when we could start to see some damaging gusts around 100 miles an hour, and we're just going to see an absolute explosion of convection back here down in mostly South Dakota, anywhere north of I-94 and north of the South and North Dakota border is really going to be weaker, mostly 60-mile-an-hour damaging gusts, and it's actually going to fall apart a bit as we go into the late afternoon. But this corridor stretching from South Dakota and north of I-90 back into the Twin Cities is going to be our main risk area. Now, in this very linear mode, the main threat is going to be damaging gusts, possibly exceeding 100 miles an hour. Now, it is important to note that a model run, specifically this one, has highlighted an area receiving possibly 115-mile-an-hour wind gust. Now, will it actually happen? It seems like it's possible, but these winds will likely be closer to 100 miles an hour. Now, this storm is going to continue to push eastward and enter Minnesota around the late afternoon as a very powerful blowing segment. Now, with this, the hail threat would be a little lower, although we'd probably still be seeing hail about 1.5 inches in diameter at this point, along with these 100-mile-an-hour winds. And then we could actually see a pretty significant spin-up tornado risk. Now, as this line of storms moves into the Twin Cities, we're going to see an absolutely absurd blowing segment pushing through the area, bringing some very strong wind gusts, possibly even around 100 miles an hour still at this time, which would classify this as a derecho at this point. But then luckily, after we move past the Twin Cities, this line is likely going to disintegrate and just become a rainmaker around Tuesday morning. Now, here are 500 millibar winds in the upper air dynamics, which are driving this large mesoscale convective system and possible derecho. We see a large shortwave ejecting through parts of North Dakota in the early to afternoon hours today. And this is going to help to sustain and initiate our storms in this main corridor. And we're actually going to have a decent area of some 700 millibar winds in our corridor, which could actually enhance the winds in our mesoscale convective system or possible derecho and actually prolong them. So it wouldn't just be a gust front, but it would be a wider area of those highest winds back, possibly bringing some further damage to the areas already impacted. And this would also increase the threat of a couple of spin up tornadoes as well. Now, here is our environment today, and this just spells a pretty classic wind driven setup, with the only thing missing being a lower LCL. But this will actually drive the threat of a couple of spin up tornadoes, possibly even being strong, because we do have a very favorable hodograph for some tornadoes, and our shear and our low level helicity is going to be extremely conducive at around 200 low-level helicity and nearing 30 knots of low-level shear. So it's very possible we could see a lot of spin-up tornadoes along this extremely powerful line or possible derecho. We also see 35 knots of organizing shear, which would possibly help to prolong our winds in this possible derecho and also have it being more organized, so lasting a very long time all the way from sunrise to sunset. We also have some wind veering, which could bring that tornado threat, but the main characteristics that I'm noticing of a very large wind threat or possible derecho are going to be this extremely high amount of dry air aloft, which will definitely help to enhance those strong downdrafts. We also have an insanely moist area nearing an 80 dew point, which will help this storm last for a very long time and bring that threat of some extreme damaging winds. Also, our cape is going to be absurd. Here it says 7,000, but likely it's going to be closer to 5,000 to 6,000 cape in this corridor. So extremely favorable for a very strong wind event and severe weather in general. Now, our mid Relative humidity is going to be 28%, which helps with that evaporative cooling and cold pooling in general, which also helps to increase the strength of our winds. Then our downdraft cape is going to be nearing 2,000, which is so absurdly high and would definitely be one of the main reasons for those 100-mile-an-hour gusts, possibly in this derecho threat. And the last thing to note is that large hail, although it's going to be a very linear mode, is not out of play because we have so much cape up here and our mid-level lapse rates are going to be nearing 9 Celsius decrease per kilometer. So although our freezing level is high and it's going to be a linear mode, I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see some large hail anywhere between 1.5 to 2 inches. And the last thing is that our significant tornado parameter is actually going to be pretty close to maxed out at around 11 in this area, along possibly even an outflow boundary left behind by yesterday's storms. So I definitely would expect to see a couple of spin up tornadoes, possibly even being strong out here with our potential derecho.